Prince Harry delivered compelling testimony at the High Court today, painting a harrowing portrait of the toll that Associated Newspapers' relentless coverage has taken on his family. Speaking with evident emotion, the Duke of Sussex described how his wife, Meghan's life, had been reduced to an absolute misery by the tabloids' invasive reporting and what he characterised as a calculated campaign of harassment. His account detailed the psychological impact of constant surveillance, fabricated stories, and what he argued was a systematic pattern of invasion of privacy that extended far beyond the bounds of legitimate journalism. Harry's evidence underscored the human cost behind the legal dispute, presenting the court with first-hand testimony about how the newspaper's actions had fundamentally altered his family's sense of security and well-being. Throughout his testimony, he emphasized that this was not merely about defending his reputation, but about protecting his wife from an onslaught of negative coverage that bore little resemblance to reality. The hearing marks a significant moment in the ongoing legal battle, with Harry's personal account serving as a stark counterpoint to the publishers' defence of their editorial decisions. Prince Harry's High Court battle against Associated Newspapers over privacy violations. Prince Harry's ongoing legal battle with Associated Newspapers represents a watershed moment in the long-standing tension between the British royal family and tabloid media, stemming from years of alleged privacy violations and intrusive reporting. The case carries particular significance given its direct connection to Meghan Markle's own harrowing experiences with the press, experiences that Harry has characterised as having made his wife's life an absolute misery during her time in the public eye. The timeline of events leading to these court proceedings stretches back through a series of escalating incidents, from the couple's initial concerns about media overreach to the specific allegations of phone hacking and unlawful information gathering, that ultimately compelled Harry to pursue legal recourse against one of Britain's largest newspaper publishers. This case is not merely about one couple's grievances. It represents a broader reckoning with how tabloid journalism has historically operated with relative impunity, affecting not only Harry and Meghan, but countless other individuals whose lives have been disrupted by invasive reporting tactics and breach of privacy rights. Prince Harry took the stand at the High Court today to deliver evidence against Associated Newspapers, presenting a compelling account of the alleged harassment and distress directed at his wife, Meghan. Throughout his testimony, the Prince detailed a series of incidents and editorial decisions that he contended contributed to making Meghan's life an absolute misery, painting a portrait of relentless tabloid intrusion and what he characterized as a deliberate campaign of negative coverage. Key statements made by Harry included assertions about the invasive nature of paparazzi surveillance, the publication of private correspondence, and what he described as misleading and sensationalist reporting that systematically portrayed Meghan in an unfavourable light. The evidence presented during his testimony encompassed correspondence photographs and documented instances of media pursuit, which the Prince's legal team used to establish a pattern of behaviour they argued constituted harassment and violated privacy rights. Harry's composed yet clearly emotional delivery underscored the personal toll he claimed such scrutiny had exacted on both his wife and their family, marking a pivotal moment in the ongoing legal proceedings between the royal couple and the media organisation. During his testimony at the High Court today, Prince Harry presented a compelling account of the relentless treatment his wife Meghan endured, describing her life as having been made an absolute misery by the actions of associated newspapers. The Prince detailed several specific incidents that he argued constituted a pattern of harassment, each designed to illustrate the severity and systematic nature of the alleged misconduct. These incidents, he contended, collectively undermine Meghan's sense of security and well-being, taking a considerable toll on her mental health. Harry's testimony painted a picture of accumulating distress, where isolated incidents became part of a broader campaign that left Meghan vulnerable and psychologically burdened. The evidence presented suggested that the impact extended far beyond mere inconvenience or unwanted publicity, instead reaching into the intimate aspects of her daily life and contributing to a deterioration in her overall mental and emotional state. Through his account, Harry sought to establish that the consequences of Associated Newspapers' actions were not trivial matters of public interest, but rather serious violations that had genuine and lasting effects on his wife's well-being. Prince Harry's High Court battle against Associated Newspapers. At the heart of Prince Harry's testimony lies a damning indictment of Associated Newspapers, the media conglomerate accused of orchestrating a systematic campaign to invade the couple's privacy and violate fundamental journalistic standards. The accusations centre on the organisation's flagship publications, including the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, which allegedly engaged in a coordinated effort to pursue intrusive stories about the royal couple without regard for ethical boundaries or legal constraints. Prince Harry contends that these publications breached established codes of conduct governing privacy and journalistic integrity, subjecting Meghan to relentless scrutiny and harassment that, transformed her daily existence into what he characterized as an absolute misery. The alleged misconduct reportedly extended beyond simple reporting to encompass invasive surveillance tactics, unauthorized access to private communications, and the deliberate publication of intimate details designed to humiliate and distress the targets. Associated Newspapers has maintained its defence throughout the proceedings, yet the weight of Prince Harry's evidence suggests a troubling pattern of editorial decisions that honestly prioritise sensationalism and circulation figures above respect for individuals' fundamental right to privacy and protection from harassment. Prince Harry's legal team constructed a comprehensive case centering on systematic intrusion and privacy violations, arguing that Associated Newspapers had engaged in a deliberate pattern of harassment that extended far beyond standard journalistic practice. The defence presented substantial evidence of phone hacking, including detailed records of calls intercepted and messages accessed without authorization, alongside documentation showing how paparazzi had been coordinated and incentivized to pursue the couple with relentless intensity. Drawing parallels to landmark cases such as the News of the World phone hacking scandal and the Glenn Mulcaire investigations, Harry's counsel demonstrated that the newspaper group's conduct mirrored previously established patterns of unlawful surveillance, establishing a clear precedent for their claims. They highlighted internal communications showing editorial awareness of these invasive tactics, expert testimony regarding the psychological impact of such sustained intrusion, and financial records tracing payments made to private investigators who had obtained private information through illegal means. By meticulously mapping the trajectory of their case against established legal precedents and regulatory frameworks, the legal team sought to demonstrate not merely isolated incidents of poor journalistic judgment, but rather a calculated institutional approach to obtaining stories through methods that violated fundamental privacy rights. Prince Harry's candid courtroom testimony, really sparked a divided public response. The Duke of Sussex's emotional testimony reverberated across the globe, igniting a complex tapestry of reactions from both ardent admirers and critical observers. Supporters of the royal couple rallied behind the prince's courageous decision to publicly detail the alleged mistreatment his wife endured, with many taking to social media to praise his vulnerability and willingness to confront institutional failures head-on, viewing his courtroom appearance as a watershed moment in holding the tabloid press accountable for years of relentless intrusion and invasive reporting. Meanwhile, media commentators offered strikingly divergent assessments of his testimony, with some outlets lauding his articulate presentation and emotional candor as compelling evidence of genuine harm, whilst others questioned the strategic implications of such a high-profile legal battle and speculated about its potential ramifications for the royal family's carefully constructed public image. Across Twitter, Instagram, and various online forums, the British and international public fragmented into passionate camps, with one faction viewing Harry as a truth-telling martyr standing against press tyranny, whilst another remained sceptical, debating whether the proceedings represented a genuine quest for justice or merely another chapter in an increasingly theatrical saga of royal grievance and vindication. Prince Harry's legal stand against press intrusion, a modern royal battle. The scrutiny of the royal family by the media is far from a recent phenomenon. Indeed, the relentless pursuit of royal news has defined much of modern press culture, dating back decades to the paparazzi's aggressive tactics that pursued previous generations of royals through London's streets and beyond. The monarchy has not been passive in the face of such invasions, as evidenced by the various legal actions undertaken by members of the royal family over the years, from Charles to Anne to Edward, each seeking to establish boundaries around their private lives through the courts. Yet what distinguishes Prince Harry's current legal challenge is the broader cultural moment in which it unfolds, a time when attitudes toward press freedom and personal privacy have become increasingly polarized, with traditional arguments defending the public's right to know colliding sharply against growing recognition that even public figures deserve fundamental protections from harassment and the relentless mining of private correspondence. This tension between the media's established role as watchdog and the individual's right to privacy has never been more contested, forcing the courts to reconsider what the law actually permits and what society should ethically tolerate. Prince Harry's High Court battle against Associated Newspapers, a landmark case with far-reaching implications. The potential outcomes of this case could prove devastating for Associated Newspapers, particularly if the court finds in favour of Prince Harry and determines that the publisher systematically invaded Meghan's privacy and caused deliberate harm, a verdict that could result in substantial financial damages and, honestly, a significant blow to the organization's reputation within the industry. Legal experts anticipate that the High Court's decision could arrive within several months, as judges typically take considerable time to review the extensive evidence presented during such high-profile cases. Though, an expedited timeline remains possible given the case's prominence and public interest. Beyond the immediate ramifications for associated newspapers, this case carries profound implications for future media regulation in the United Kingdom, potentially establishing important legal precedents regarding privacy rights, tabloid accountability, and the boundaries of invasive journalism. Should the ruling favour the plaintiffs, it could embolden stricter regulatory frameworks and encourage other public figures to challenge media outlets through similar legal channels, fundamentally reshaping how newspapers approach their coverage of prominent individuals and their families. Prince Harry's High Court battle against associated newspapers, a watershed moment for privacy rights. The significance of this case extends far beyond the immediate grievances of Prince Harry and Meghan, reaching into the very foundations of how privacy law is understood and enforced in the United Kingdom. Should the court rule in favour of the claimants, it could establish a powerful precedent that fundamentally reshapes the landscape of privacy protection, signalling to the judiciary that even the most intrusive invasions of personal life, particularly those orchestrated through coordinated media campaigns, will not be tolerated. The implications for celebrity and public figure protections are equally profound. A victory here would affirm that the privilege of public interest does not serve as a blanket justification for relentless surveillance and the publication of intimate details, thereby erecting stronger barriers between the voracious appetite of tabloid journalism and the fundamental right to a private life. Moreover, the broader implications for press accountability cannot be overstated, as this case has the potential to recalibrate the balance between freedom of the press and individual dignity, establishing clearer boundaries for what constitutes permissible investigative journalism and what crosses into harassment and defamation. In essence, the court's judgment will reverberate through newsrooms across the nation, compelling media organisations to, reconsider their editorial practices and the ethical frameworks upon which they operate.